Injustice anywhere isn't isolated. It's part of a greater pattern, and we all have a role in the solution. These powerful words from her acclaimed book, Radical Empathy, capture Dr. Terri Givens' life's purpose. Throughout her extraordinary life, she's shown an unwavering commitment to justice and empathy as she continuously works to shape communities, minds, and policies around the world, while her roots remain firmly planted in her hometown and her alma mater, Gonzaga Prep. Terri Givens has spent a life building bridges across continents, cultures, and divides both seen and unseen. Her work has taken her to global conferences, university classrooms, and community spaces where she has planted the seeds of change. But before she was a professor, a provost, a best-selling author, and a thought leader on equality, Terri Givens was a daughter and a sister, the youngest of Roy and Leora Givens' 7 children. A bookworm with a gift for track and field, Terri loved Star Trek and, occasionally, playing football with her brothers, where she learned when to hold her ground and when to run past the crowd. Of all of Terri's extraordinary gifts, perhaps the greatest is her smile. No matter where she's gone in life or who she's met, she has brought people from diverse backgrounds together and brightened every room she's entered, including all of them at Gonzaga Prep. Upon arriving in 1980, during her sophomore year, Terri was everywhere, doing everything and making it all look effortless. She didn't just join the prep community, she lifted it. Student government? Check. Track and field? Of course. Choir? The school newspaper? Even starring in musicals? Why not? Terri epitomized the bullpup spirit, tireless, curious, and ready to make an impact. She served as ASB Vice President her senior year, sang in Hall of Fame choir director John Walk's Jazz Connection, and was awarded all Greater Spokane League honors each of the 3 years she competed for the bullpups on the track. In 1983, Terri was the first ever recipient of the GSL Girls Scholar Athlete Award, and in her sophomore year, the Bullpups won the Track and Field City Championship. She competed at the State Track and Field Championships all 3 of her years at Gonzaga Prep. She was also a National Achievement Scholar while at Prep, and her senior year received a Merit Scholarship to Stanford University. Throughout her time at Gonzaga Prep, Terri was envisioning a world without limits and thinking about how to leave it better than she found it. Many of my teachers and mentors at Prep saw more in me than I saw in myself, right from my first days there, Terri recalled. I love the Jesuits' commitment to social justice, which has stayed with me through my career. Radical empathy comes from the idea that we should do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I became a teacher and inclusive leader because of the way I was supported by so many at Prep. Terri carried that purpose with her to Stanford, where she juggled both academics and athletics. She majored in international relations, studying under the former U.S. Secretary of State, Condoleezza Rice, learning about international security and arms control, while also competing as a decorated track and field athlete. Terri competed head-to-head in sprints and long jump with Olympic legend Jackie Joyner-Kersee. And today, Terri Givens is still in the Stanford record books as a member of the 1983 Women's Mile Relay record-setting team. Something else extraordinary happened to Terri at Stanford. She met the love of her life and future husband, Michael Scott. Mike was a jazz DJ on the Stanford student radio station. Terri was a fan of his show, and their common interest in jazz brought them together 5 years later. For a young woman who grew up in a city with limited diversity, Stanford was an awakening. Terri began to see the world as a complex tapestry of cultures and histories, realizing that we all have much more in common than what divides us. But it was a semester in France that truly changed her trajectory. As she immersed herself in European culture, Terri witnessed the rise of far-right movements and the politics of exclusion. This experience sparked what would become a lifelong pursuit, understanding how race, identity, and politics intersect, and how that knowledge can be used to create a fairer world. After Stanford, Terri earned her PhD from UCLA, producing a groundbreaking dissertation on the radical right in Europe. She then began her teaching career at the University of Washington as an assistant professor before joining the faculty at the University of Texas at Austin. where for over 12 years, Dr. Terri Givens didn't just teach, she built. She became the founding co-director of UT Austin Center for European Studies and was vice provost for undergraduate curriculum and international affairs. As the founding director of the Center for European Studies, she opened doors for students to engage with the world. Later, in Atherton, California, as Menlo College's first African American and female provost, Dr. Givens broke barriers and created programs that continue to reshape how institutions approach diversity and inclusion. In 2021, Dr. Givens served for 3 years as the Provost's advisor on the strategy to address anti-Black racism at McGill University in Montreal, Canada. She then served as McGill's Associate Dean for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. But her work has never been limited to just the classroom. She's been a fellow of the Migration Policy Institute, a distinguished scholar of the Strauss Center for International Law and Security, and also served as the CEO of the Center for Higher Education Leadership. She is also a distinguished writer, having authored books and articles on immigration policy, European politics, and the politics of race that challenge the reader to rethink how they see the world and each other. Her memoir, Radical Empathy, calls on all of us to not only understand others' experiences, but to act boldly in bridging divides. Her fourth and most recent book is The Roots of Racism, The Politics of White Supremacy in the U.S. and Europe. Throughout her career, Dr. Terri Givens has been a keynote speaker on a variety of topics. Since 2020, she has done over 70 keynotes, workshops, interviews, and podcasts. As part of her speaking engagements, she is often asked to provide support for leaders in the education, nonprofit, and corporate sectors as they work to become more diverse and inclusive. Currently, Dr. Terri Givens is a professor of political science at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. She still enjoys attending jazz festivals with her husband Mike and following the activities of her very active sons, Andrew and Brandon. Through it all, Terri has remained deeply connected to the values she learned at Gonzaga Prep: faith, justice, and the responsibility to be a person for others, and she continues to bring people together through empathy. In the conclusion of her book, Radical Empathy, Terri wrote, "What is important to remember is that change starts at the individual level. We must start using tools to create hope and energize us for the long haul of healing the racial divide in our country. I believe that love will triumph over hate, and I will do my part to use radical empathy and love on my own path to bridging racial divides." Terri Givens, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of welcoming you to the Gonzaga Prep Hall of Fame. Thank you for inspiring bullpups across the world to use love and empathy to bring their communities together. Congratulations, Terri.